Welcome, way cool people, to another broadcast of The Soul of the Everyman on the ArtistFirst Radio Network. All past shows are available in podcast form. You can pick them up at ArtistFirst.com. Please send us your questions in email form to dj@ArtistFirst.com. Now out to your co-hosts, Michael and Margaret Lyons.
In email form, not in burning brick form. We never get questions tied to burning bricks, do we, Scott?
Not recently.
Okay, good. Well, tonight is not the night to start because it is so damn hot. But I'm Michael Lyons.
And I'm Margaret.
She's Margaret. And of the two of us, she is much hotter than I am.
Okay.
She's kind of making me hot, too. But I'm already hot enough, wouldn't you say?
Yes.
You know, that's the kind of show this is going to be because we're both sweating into piles of goo here. So welcome to the Hell's Kitchen edition of The Soul of the Everyman, where the points are canceled because it's too hot for points. But we are going to talk about burning things tonight. Why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
Brings it to mind.
It brings it to mind. So the statement that we're going to start with is this one. I want you guys to ponder this for as long as you can before you fall over comatose. Do you live your life by burning ships or bridges? And when you think about it for just a second, I think people might be tempted to say, well, what's the difference?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can, build a bridge out of wood or small rocks, but you cannot, or a witch, but you cannot build it. Never mind, I'm just being stupid. So what is the difference? We were talking about it.
Right. Burning bridges or burning ships.
Yeah. What's the difference between a bridge and a ship, besides the obvious?
The obvious things. Well, when you say burning bridges, most people think of, I'm separating from you. I'm separating from this. I'm separating from the event. I'm just disconnecting.
Right. This is something I don't want anymore.
Right. And when you think of burning ships, it's a more permanent arrangement for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think I would say burning bridges, the first thing you had to do was to build the bridge, a bridge to me represents a relationship, and it represents an investment in a relationship.
A connection that you needed to culture and care for and build.
Yeah.
Very carefully.
Yeah. And it's, I'm going to say this is going to sound weird. It's less of a conveyance than a ship. And what I mean by that is a bridge is something which is sort of something you cross and you use for a short period of time, perhaps. And it's a two-way street. It's, as you said, it's a connection. It's a synapse. It's a flow of information between two entities. But in and of itself, it's sort of mundane. It's just a different kind of road, something that didn't exist before. So here's a good way to think about it. You meet someone, and initially you don't have any bridges with that person. You don't have any connection to them. And then you might say, well, we have whatever it is in common. And then you start to converse or dialogue or interact with each other. And over time, that becomes a bridge. It becomes maybe a something which is sort of a casual, this is the person I play, whatever ball game with or video game with or something. Or it's somebody with whom you want to live your rest of your life with, or you think you do. So these are bridges. You start out with they aren't there, and you build them between the two of you. Maybe both of you work on this bridge. And I think that's where it starts to think. When I think of a ship as something maybe that you can operate by yourself. You can get into your own ship and go somewhere. You can get into your own car and go somewhere. You don't know where you're going. You're not going to this person, because a bridge is like, this is the road to Annie's house. It doesn't go to everybody's house. But a ship can go anywhere. A ship is the vehicle of you moving through something, the unknown perhaps. That's where the differences are.
Well, I think a bridge requires a well-worn path, first of all. Path that usually on land, although I guess there are some underwater bridges.
Well, I think you're right. It's founded in something. It's founded. Part of that bridge is founded in me, and the other part of the bridge is founded in what I'm connecting myself to.
Right. You are who or what you are connecting yourself to, an association with. And building a bridge requires your own effort, your own life force, thought, and preparation. Sometimes it requires resources in order to maintain it. And you think of that on a foundational pathway. Maybe that's the best way I can describe it. Whereas a ship sailing on the seas, you don't think of them in specific pathways, like as if it was just going down a river. You were thinking, usually when you think of a ship, you're thinking of crossing oceans.
Yeah. I think one is static in the sense that it doesn't move, and it's got, like you say, it's got really well built foundations, but it doesn't move. It's a thing. Maybe you have many bridges to everything but a ship moves. It's not static. It's dynamic. It has potential to do anything, go anywhere.
Right. Well, it's sailing on a sea which is not defined. I mean, of course, people say, well, there are shipping lanes, but but we're talking about...
That's right, people. There are shipping lanes, okay? Stay within the lines of the shipping lane. Moving on.
But when it comes to the phrase, burn the ships, there's a finality to it, because it is on a journey. When you're on a ship, you're going from one place to another, and it's usually quite a distance. And there is no other way to get there.
Yeah, I like that, because the finality part of it, especially because there's some finality to both things. But bridges. Let's go back to bridges. When you burn a bridge, you're deciding to destroy something that you built to something. In other words, right. you know both ends of the bridge. My one end of the bridge is me, and the other end of the bridge is the thing that I made the relationship with. And you're basically saying, that thing that I made this relationship with, which I know everything about, and I no longer want to be associated with it. You're breaking, burning, destroying that bridge. Boom. But the ship, you say to yourself, why would you ever burn a ship? Ships are useful. Ships get you places. But I think you hit it, at least for me, right on the head when you said finality. Mm-hmm. When you burn a ship, you said this journey is over. Now we're in a new place. Because one of the things about ships is you don't know where you're going. You may, in fact, start out like many ship stories start out going to someplace and end up blown off course. And end up in a whole nother place. So a ship has a bit of uncertainty. Let's say the unknown is part of ships. And if you're outside the shipping lanes, you could do anything. Just outside those shipping lanes.
You're outside.
Way outside the shipping lanes. So
outside the lines.
You're outside the lines. You're like way out there. And there be monsters and all these things. So you go on this journey, and then you reach a place. And you have this ship, and you're at a place. And then you say, I'm going to burn the ships, which means I'm not journeying now. I've reached a place where I'm going to stay. It's a commitment to this place.
Well, I'd say it's a commitment to the ultimate reason why you took the ship in the first place.
Right.
Okay, it's this leg of the journey is done.
Right.
And I'm not going to go backseas.
No backseas.
So usually, especially if you've got other people with you,
we're burning the ships.
We're burning the ships because we're going that way.
So there we have the big difference. The big difference is bridges you build. Bridges are from you to something else that you know about. Bridges that you build them and use them, and there are two ways. And then when you decide to break them, it's not because you don't know what's going on the other side. It's because you know it and you are now rejecting it. It's finality of a different sort. It's a breaking of a relationship, is a burning of a bridge.
And a relationship or an association. It's like I'm divulging myself of this. It's taking off a coat. It's like right. I had enveloped myself with this, and so that I was part of this appearance. Now I don't want to be there anymore. I am taking it off and getting rid of it. Because burning in general, when you think of burning something, it's really ending it.
Right. You're destroying it utterly. And then with burning ships, you got in the ship because you wanted to go somewhere. You wanted to start your journey. You get in the ship, you're going. You get to a place because you land your ship. You get into the place, and then you say, as you said, the journey is done. Now, I don't know anything. I don't have any relationships. But all I have is a vehicle which can take me further, could take me back, could take me on. But instead I say, no, I'm done journeying. I'm committing to something new. If you look at life, I think you'd be hard pressed to say that life is all bridges or all ships. It's both. When you get to the new place, you get out of your ship, you burn your ship, or maybe this is a stupid analogy, but maybe you take your ship apart and start building bridges. The point is that you've come to a new you, right? And you said, I'm not going back to the old me. One thing I remember seeing with you some time back, it was sort of a similar analogy in the sense that you would leave the nest. When you leave the nest, it's because you're too big for the nest. When you sail on a ship to a new place, maybe you left the old place because the old place wasn't comfortable. The old place was too small. The old place was someplace that you couldn't live anymore. But you needed you to continue. You needed to journey into the unknown. You're not sure where the new place is. You're just going. You get to a place and you say, this is the new place. Burn the ships. We're done journeying. Now we're going to live here for a while. Maybe we have to live here for a while and build a new ship. Maybe not. Maybe we're here forever. But the point is that's the commitment of burning a ship is almost saying, I'm going to start new relationships rather than end them.
Right. Well, it's a full commitment to getting rid of your past completely because there's no way to go back. It is done. There's no way to return ever. That was the whole feel behind it. There is just no way to return. So you basically have everything focusing on the forward motion. You're not expending energy on the past because, that's unattainable now. This is the only way we've got to go. There's only one way to go.
Remember the phrase we just heard? I think it applies to ships. All in.
Oh, all in. Yes, you will become all in. There is only one pathway, and you're not dividing up your attention, your time, your breath, or your thoughts about thinking of anything else except the way forward.
Exactly. When you're all in, when you've burned your ship, what you're saying is, I'm all in. There's no, as you said before, no backseas. But you can even just, all the energy you might have thought about, well, maybe I can go back, maybe I do this, maybe I don't have to stay here. All that is, the ships are burned. We're all in now. We are completely, 100% totally committed. It's a symbolic, it's like a rite of passage, like any one of them that you could think of in the Native Americans or any of the rites of passage. You have gone through the gamut. You crossed the journey. You got to the other side, and you're marked. Your burnt ship is your mark. You're all in. You've crossed it. You're in a new you. And
it's I guess you can equate it to a rite of passage, because undergoing a rite of passage means that you're coming out from this journey, this one journey, and you are going into a whole new phase with a whole different you.
Mm-hmm.
And to be able to say, okay, that was then. There's nothing I can do to change what happened back then. This is now. And all my energy must go forward.
Right.
And that's the interesting thing. I think people think of burning the ship as burning bridges, because you can always go back on a bridge or rebuild a bridge or something along that lines, because you're on a well-worn pathway, a road, and you wanted to get from here to there. Maybe the bridge was a shortcut. There are ways and reasons why bridges are made, but the finality of burning a ship means that the foundation of your journey has shifted and changed.
Right. You've transitioned to a new space, and you're all in. You're never going back. So let's go back to bridges for a minute. So you're right. Bridges start out small. They start out as maybe just a track, and it becomes more used. And then you say, well, I want to start to build, put something in stronger and something in which can carry more weight or is bigger or whatever. So as you build your bridge, you increase the relationship. So you can get to the point where your bridge to whatever it is that that you've built it to is like a 6-lane highway bridge. It's this massive structure, and maybe it can seem like the only way to go all the time. Like every time I do anything, it's always going over this bridge. Like there's no other. It like takes over your life. This bridge is everything. And that isn't a bad thing, but you can seem to be. I think if I use a different analogy, a bridge can be an anchor. It can be an obstacle. It can be something that's tying you down and not letting you go forward, because in essence, it's so massive and it's so heavy and it's so there all the time that it becomes like, if in the old phrase, if all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Well, if all you have is this giant bridge to whatever it is, maybe every part of your life is going down that bridge. And if that can be wonderful. But if that bridge becomes unbalanced, so that you're giving far more than you're getting back over the bridge, or the bridge becomes, a drain on you, a tremendous drain on your resources, and you have to get to the point where you have to say, this bridge is no longer useful. It's become a burden. It's maybe become toxic. Burning a bridge is freeing yourself in some ways from that commitment to the relationship. Now, is it not painful? Of course it can be incredibly painful. When you burn a bridge, you're destroying a part of yourself or something that you've worked on maybe for half your life. Who knows how long? So that, but it's not all in. It's like all out. It's like, I'm done. All in is commitment. Burning bridges is breaking the commitment.
So, well, this is looking at a bridge as a relationship.
Yeah.
This is what you're alluding to.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's a relationship, you're looking at a connection to the relationship. I take it a step a little sideways and look at it in terms of the way you build structures, the structures of your life, because the ship is a vehicle in which to carry you through from here to there. The bridge is also a structure, but it is a structure that is well established in a well-known grid work, map.
A world.
Yes. There's no real question about where you are and where you're going to.
Right. It's deterministic. Bridges, you know about a bridge.
Yes. So understanding it is in how you're building your structures. Are you spending your time building a structure in this well-known world, which is, there's no unknowns really there? Or are you building structures to help you take steps into the unknown?
Yeah, I like that. If I might say it back to you and see if I got it right. So a bridge, you aren't transforming yourself through a bridge, or you're not carrying yourself somewhere else through a bridge. You're saying that I am going to anchor myself here and extend myself to the other, whatever the other is, can be a person or anything, and make it so that it's very easy for me to interact with whatever that is. It becomes a very easy, as you said, well-trodden path. So this bridge extends yourself, but only to a place, only to another thing. It doesn't redefine you necessarily, or rather,
it's an access point.
Right.
Where if we're looking at it in terms of relationship, allows a broader base for the relationship, because the two together can define space.
Yes. And I think a bridge can also be, we used to talk about, and this was some time back, but, where people would put strings on you. Strings can become ropes, they can become chains, they can become,
ties.
More than just ties, almost like parasitism, where they're... So these types of bridges, as all those things, all these types of connections can be thought of as bridges, are things that are put upon you, let's say, unwilling, or at least maybe without the... they're not balanced bridges. If someone is using a bridge or a relationship to steal your life force, or to tie you down, to chain you to something, to anchor you to something, burning bridges, breaking those chains, is an act of rebellion and of freedom, of escaping from a veritable prison.
Right.
So bridges can be thought of as chains, as ties, as ropes, as things which tie you down, and potentially they're not balanced in the sense that you're not getting what you over the bridge as much as you're giving out over the bridge.
So what you're equating this to is that the amount of energy it takes, or resources it takes, to maintain a relationship.
Well, if it's a relationship where someone has put a chain upon you,
But that's what I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, instead of it being just a structure through which you could make contact one to the other. It's kind of like what you see with social media. This is a bridge between people, but it becomes a vehicle in where somebody can start influencing other people, or making judgment calls, or approval or however you want to call it.
Yep.
But you can see that unfolding as a it's used. Well, it depends on how a person decides to use it. The contact point.
Yeah, but they are. That's a good way to put it. They're contact points. So if you allow someone to build a bridge to you, you've given them an access. You've given them
Right.
a contact point.
Right.
You said that for this commitment, I provide you some level of control over me,
Right.
willing or unwilling. And I think this is the difference. That's another big difference between ships and bridges. Ships you control. You are piloting your ship, and what perhaps puts the ship out of course are not it's not through relationship, it's circumstance, it's the world, it's the chances of life. In essence, the analogy of a sea and a storm is very, very apt, because this is what happens. You're sailing along and things happen. Storm comes up, wind blows the wrong way, whatever happens, and you end up in a different spot. But bridges are much more like ties. They're much more like attachments. If we think of it in the Buddhist sense, Buddhists would strive to live a life of no bridges, of no attachments, or very limited attachments.
Yes. They live a life where you make bridges, contacts, but you don't put a lot of weight into it. It is what arises. They see things as part of the general rise and fall of the sea. It's equating what's happening around them to the habits of the ocean and what happens. They don't attach any personal context to it.
Go ahead.
It's observing.
So the interesting thing about the bridges, therefore, in the Buddhist sense, would be that you, the individual, try to strive to have no attachment and merely to observe. So there's a barrier or a gap between the observer and perhaps the relationships so relationship comes so far, but it never gets to be an attachment on you. It gets to be something which perhaps you can interact with for a period of time, but then you just say, well, that it rose, I interacted, it fell, it's gone. It has no bearing on the consciousness, has no bearing on the I.
Well, yeah, you're dissipating the I completely, so that's not even a contact point then.
Right. Even the I is
ultimately, that is what you are striving for.
Right. So let's say Buddhism is a philosophy which strives to not even burn bridges, but just never to have a bridge.
Well, when you start, you have to begin to know who you are and where you are. So you start by learning where you are and how you function. And then you start delving into the matters of how you respond, how you think, how you feel, and understand that you is also your ego, and you have to learn how to detach from the ego.
You have to burn the bridge to your ego.
Yes, the ultimate burn.
The ultimate burn. Well, let's take an ultimate burn at the moment. We'll go back to the studio. We will burn some things here. It's cooling off, but we're going to start another fire, and we'll be back to burn a few more bridges on the other side.
The wait is over. First Blood, Book 2 of the Blood series is out. Your favorite bad boy thief Dev is back, and the beautiful and deadly Trey is right there with him. She is sharp, sexy, and full of surprises. Their adventures continue as a new power arises to threaten the world. The heart of creation is under attack, and time is definitely not on their side as they battle against their enemies' undead hordes. Can they unlock the hidden power that can defeat him, or will his forces draw first blood? Get all 3 installments in the series. Book 0, It's in the Blood. Book 1, Destroyer's Blood, and the new release, Book 2, First Blood, today. Available in ebook and paperback format on Amazon, Kobo, Apple, and most other fine e-tailers.
Rick Riordan fans, love mythology with plenty of action and humor? Destroyer's Blood is for you. The new fantasy novel by award-winning author Michael Lynes is Book 1 of the Adventures of Dev Kalian, the Blood series. Follow Dev and his magic sword Betrayer as they are suddenly attacked and forced to return to Olympus to fight in a war they want no part in. The world of men and gods is about to be destroyed by Zeus's ancient foe, and only Dev and Trey can stop him. The conflict never stops, and the amazing twist will have you on the edge of your seat. Act now while the ebook is on sale for only 99 cents. Destroyer's Blood is available on Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, Kobo, and fine e-tailers everywhere. And while you're there, get the free prequel, It's in the Blood, available for a limited time.
Hi, this is Hannah Ruth from the band Wild Hum. Check out our new Americana Soul CD, Wild Hum, at our website, wildhummusic.com. And you are listening to the ArtistFirst Radio Network. Thank you.
The Fat Man Gets Out of Bed is the latest book from Michael Lynes, the award-winning author of There is a Reaper. Featuring 13 original stories, this wide-ranging collection has everything. Forbidden love, gods versus demigods, weird invading aliens, sexy seductive artificial intelligence, and unusual passion between the living and the dead. All set amidst fantastic worlds of pain and loss and boundless joy. From the sublime to the macabre to the bittersweet, The Fat Man Gets Out of Bed will leave you breathless with laughter, brimming with tears, trembling with suspense. Available now on Amazon.com, Google Play, iTunes, Kobo, and fine e-tailers everywhere.
There is a Reaper is the story of 5-year-old Christopher Aaron and his life-changing struggle with leukemia. Winner of both the Indie Bragg Medallion as well as the reader's favorite silver medal for memoir, There is a Reaper has more than 100 Amazon book reviews and a 5-star rating. It has been described as life-changing, spiritual, a must-read. Just released on Audible and iTunes, this memoir is also available in paperback and on Amazon Kindle for only 99 cents. Get your copy of this life-changing memoir today.
Listening to the Soul of the Everyman on the ArtistFirst Radio Network. Back to your hosts, Michael and Margaret Lynes.
Thank you very much, D-Man. And there is just nothing quite like the light of a burning bridge. You just warm your hands to it. So last half hour, we've been talking about burning bridges and burning ships and kind of figuring out the difference between the two of them. And I think we have sussed it out. Let's talk a little bit about ships, because we've been talking about bridges. So I would postulate that all of us have a ship. The ship that we're in is our vehicle that we transport ourselves through our lives. And I think, to kind of stretch the analogy one step further, I think that each, let's say, stage roughly in our lives, we have a kind of a journey to get there. There's a journey of development, of discovery, and then there's a landing in a particular whatever it is, a role or a place or a point in your life. People mark these things like marriages and so on. And then you've got to be all in. For a period of time, if you're going to live a life of true development here and really do your homework, do your changes that you're here to do. You can't just be journeying all the time. You can't just be always in your ship, shipping along and never staying, flitting from flower to flower, because you're not getting anywhere, or rather you are, but you're not learning anything. You've got to be all in for a while on something. So I would say, Margaret, that you get in your ship, you come to a stage, and then you land. You go all in. If you really are going to do it, you burn that ship, and then you do start to build bridges for a while. And then you may just burn all those bridges, figuratively speaking, and get in your ship again and go on, continue your journey. And I think that just to stretch it one thing further, and then that part of traveling in a ship, especially when you're out of the shipping lane, is you need guidance. You need to navigate by the stars. You need to listen for grace. You need to listen to messages. When you're on a ship, out, away from everybody, away from everything, you need to listen to your heart. Where should I go? When you're going to go all in and burn your ships, you have to ask your heart first: is this the place where I burn the ship, or do I continue on to the next place? So I think the ship is a vehicle in which you will learn more about yourself through grace, through navigational guides.
Well, being in the ship requires more internal faith,
yes,
than dealing with the bridge.
Yes.
Because when you are traveling in a place where it's so unknown, I mean, the reason why a ship at sea is so evocative is all you have is the horizon, where the line where the sky meets the sea.
Wait a minute. I feel a song coming on.
And
I can't believe you said that. Go right ahead. That's awesome. Yes, go ahead. We're on the ship.
And there's no orientation that you can tell. All you have is the movement of the stars above you. And it speaks very deeply in your soul that you need to have that orientation to know where to sail. Because the winds are not constant, and the sea itself is not constant. But the movement above you can predict and use that as a guide. So that opens up the soul tremendously, because that unknown, you don't know what the sea will do and you don't know what the winds will do. But something overhead is there. And you have to focus on it in order to go. I mean, if you're at sea and you're just sailing anywhere and everywhere, not knowing where you're going, it's easy to get lost in that vastness. Easy to get in trouble.
So a ship, if I may, is a journey of personal discovery, personal relationship, not between you and something else, but between you and spirit, you and the greater, you and that which is beyond all things. So you get those guidances through your heart, through those senses. Bridges, on the other hand, are safer.
Oh, yes.
Bridges are just a little piece of you that you open up. The access point is limited. Maybe it can become very unlimited, but initially you can just say, well, this is where the bridge is going to be, just for this, and you kind of have some control over it. When you're on the sea, in the ship, you have the vastness of the sea, the vastness of the world, the vastness of all things, which are beyond yourself, is what you have to commune with.
Well, the potential hits you in that moment, because there's no distractions.
That's also true.
You know, you are who you are in that moment. You're not maintaining a bridge. Okay, you are sailing on this ship, realizing that it is important to set a course.
I love what you said there, maintaining a bridge, because you can lose yourself in the busy work of maintaining a bridge. But maintaining a bridge is making sure all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. And we do this on Wednesday, we do this on Thursday, and we plan our dates, and we do that. This is all maintaining the bridge. It's a lot of spin work. It's a lot of busy work, and it can keep you completely looking away from self and not realizing that you're not getting where you need to be. Once you make the commitment to burn the bridges, go out into the sea, you gotta face yourself. You know, you gotta.
Well, the interesting thing is, though, that's something that, as a person, you've got to decide that you will travel this journey in this way, because you can very easily get spun up in maintaining the ship and all its little details. You know, I've got to make sure this is sound, and
I like that. But you know what the thing about the ship? You're right. People can get spun up in maintaining the ship or never landing. But I think the ocean takes a hand, and the vastness of the sea and the sky and everything takes a hand. And once you've gone out and you're far from shore and you can't see anything, you will be knocked out of the maintaining the ship mode, because the sea is a dangerous place. You're not safe. Bridges are safe. Bridges, like you said, they're on land. You get to do things and paint them and scrape them and make sure that everything's... And you can busy yourself endlessly keeping those bridges up. You know, like social media, like ping, 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 you know, keeping up the streak of going back and forth, pinging your friend every day endlessly. I did this today. I did that today. What did you do today? Da, da, da. You know, and I think it can be a time waster. Bridges can be a big time waster. So you go out in your ship. You realize that you need navigation. You realize that you are a very small thing in a very vast world, and you have to connect back up to your own individual vastness. Your soul in a ship realizes it needs spirit.
Yeah.
And then, you know, land is sighted. And you have to make a decision from your heart. Do I land there? And your heart says, yes, this is follow your bliss, you know. This is a place that looks like a place we can grow, we can do things here. And we land. And then, you know, you've gotten used to the deep oceans. You've gotten used to communing with the stars, and you have to go back to, you know, building the bridges for a while and knitting the things and doing the stuff. And it's a little bit of regret. You have to burn that ship and say, I'm all in for this for a while.
Well, it's that decision. What is the basis of your decision? Is this where I need to be? Is this where I can reside? My heart can reside here, or are we just on another leg of a journey?
Right. And I think the discernment is so important there. You have to know when to burn your ships, you know, and your heart has to tell you, yes, this is the place. Because once you've committed, it'll take a while before you'll go out again.
Right.
You've got to you've got to do that work now, because each stage requires a completion. It requires a fullness. You have to spend the time to do the things, the stages, the steps that need to be done.
You have to realize that there is a certain level of progress to be made.
Yeah.
And unless that's done, it would be moot to stop at this point.
And don't you bring something from the deep vastness? Going out there, you learned a lot. You're bringing a different you to this new stage, because in journeying, you changed, you grew, you found new avenues to introspect and to be to be a being, and then you go back to being a doing, you know, to to doing these things and relationships and all that stuff. But that new you deserves the trust of burning the ships. You have to trust in the new you. You have to say, I don't want to go back to the small thing that I was before. I want to stay here. I want to take the new things I've learned and go into this new stage and commit all in, and then see how long I have to stay here. I don't know. Could be the rest of my life. Could be only for a short time. But the all-inness gets you what you want. You want commitment. You want to not be distracted.
That level of dedication rises when you are in connect with something so deep inside of you that it can only go one way. And I'm sure there are people who have felt this way, where they realize that the only way for my soul to be free, the only way where I can go to have my spirit fly, I must make this journey, no matter what the odds. And that kind of level of commitment, dedication, living, because I think commitment and dedication is almost a side note to the passion of living. When you are so engaged in the trueness, the expression of your own deep heart, expression of love, maybe is a better phrase for people to connect with. But it is a deep expression of who you are as an embodiment of love. There is nothing that will stop you from making this journey. In fact, you will be the first one on the ship, because you know the journey is key, and you must begin. You must move. The internal force of your soul looking for a way to expand out into freedom, because I think people don't understand that feeling of stricture, of imprisonment in static systems that man likes to create. You eventually realize how static it actually is when you feel the walls closing in on you.
I think there's something so important there. You said, in essence, the static structures, which can be exactly that, they can be prisons, are something because you've grown too much in that place that you are. There's a prison of childhood, which you must be let out of or you must escape. Initially, childhood is great. You need those bars. You need all that support. But then you grow, you learn, and childhood becomes a prison. If you trammel a soul in endless childhood, it's a grave disservice to a person to infantilize someone. So yes, initially, all the things that you did as a parent for your children were so necessary and so incredibly important. But then you must, no matter how much it hurts you, you must give them their freedom and they must take it. They have to burn those bridges. Maybe they're different bridges, but they burn those bridges and they get into their ship. So maybe it's not that you have one or the other. You got to burn the bridges to get in the ship. And then you have to be in the ship for a while. And then you have to get to where you're going, where the heart says this is where it should be. And then you got to burn the ships and go back to building bridges, different ones, bigger ones, things that are a different stage. So it's not one or the other. It's both.
It's again, they're structures, and not to invest everything in that structure in terms of understanding who you are.
They're both structures, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
People think that the ship is them or the bridge is them, and neither are true.
Right.
It's understanding that these are structures that you have built in order to interact with the world around you, to progress, to go from here to there, and consciously come to the point of here.
So a Buddhist might say that your bridges and your ships are nothing more than different types of attachments, and you have to use them for a time without identifying, without becoming them, without making them something which they are not. They are not you. They are just a thing for a while that you interact with in different ways for different purposes. And then, as you said, don't identify yourself as the bridge or identify yourself as the ship. You are neither thing.
Correct. You are neither. You are much more, which is one of the reasons why being on the ship in the center of the ocean with only the sky above you and the sea around you is very evocative. Your spirit understands the vastness of what is, and your soul is your interaction. You're experiencing the vastness of what is. It's something that you can't really put words to. Only poetry or images will suffice to even begin to touch upon the vastness of who you happen to be.
Would you say, I'll put this as a question, would you say that ships are cleaner than bridges? I don't mean cleaner in the physical sense, but you're closer to what you actually are when you're on a ship, in the sense that it's more solitary, it's more risky.
Well, the minute you have the I know come in, it distances you from the truth of your consciousness, because your I know wants to control everything. So if you can separate from the I know and let it just be, not to be attached to your I know, which most people will find like, what are you talking about?
Well, now the I know is, it's very interesting, because that is that it's not really a bridge, but it's like a wall.
It's a structure that you use in order to build. I know how to build this. That's usually how.
You have it. It's a foundation. It's a brick.
It can be a brick, yes, but it's more along the lines of I've drawn up the blueprints.
Well, I mean, are all your bridges made out of I know bricks? You know what I mean?
Some people's bridges are made only of I know bricks. There's never an unknown brick in there.
Right. You see, well, and that's very interesting, because I think a lot of people build bridges which are incredibly strong and incredibly short. They're not risky bridges. They're not. Some bridges look risky. They're spanning. They look like they can't stand up. They're so airy and light and beautiful. And other bridges are much more like, something like the Arc de Triomphe, which is basically going 20 feet, and it's built like this incredibly sturdy thing.
Roman arches.
Heavy Roman arches, and to again stretch an analogy so far, it's because of this plodding, heavy architecture that the relationship, the bridge, can be a weight. It can be a chain. It can become something which it needs a troll to live under it. It becomes this terrible burden.
Again, what kind of structure are you depending on? Is the I know the only way you can build your bridge?
Right. Because the I don't know is a bridge too. It's a bridge of faith.
Mm-hmm. Far more airy.
Far more risky.
Yeah, pretty much. It's the old, you're taking a step and you don't know how you're going to be able to cross it, but you wind up crossing it.
Right. And if you're not careful, as Tolkien would say, the steps that you take outside your door could lead you all the way to Mordor. I mean, basically, you never know if you might be when you step into the I don't know. You might be stepping onto a ship and you didn't know it. And all of a sudden, you're sailing away.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep.
This isn't a bridge.
This
is a freaking ship. You fooled me.
I crossed the plank right onto the.
Yes, you walked the plank. But that's true. Sometimes if you trust in your steps rather than trusting in your foundations and your I knows, you can build a bridge, which in essence turns into. Now we're getting a little bit, but it can turn into a ship. It can turn into a journey, which you had no idea that you were actually starting.
Right. In other words, the journey would require a ship that you didn't even realize you needed.
Yes. And some, to again stretch the analogy, people get onto ships and say, get me off. I don't even want to get out of the harbor. Take me back.
Mm-hmm.
Because you almost have to be all in to get on a ship too. Not all in necessarily to burn it, but you have to stay on it. You have to accept the unknown. You have to accept the uncertainty.
Right.
You have to say, I don't know, to get on a ship.
Well, to take that kind of a journey, yeah. It's a deeper, closer to the chest reason to take that kind of a journey.
I mean, ships are not ferries.
No.
Because a ferry is just a water bridge, A ferry, you know where the terminal is, and you know where the other side is. And you get on, you pay your $2.50, and you get off on the other side. But a ship, a real ship, leaves harbor and heads for the line where the sea meets the sky song. But it heads to the unknown. It heads out. And on the other side, you have no idea. You can't see the other side.
Right.
You didn't pay your money and end up in Weehawken, which is terrible. You should never go there. But you pay your money. You put the price of the ship, but you don't know how much it's going to cost in the end, because there's nothing that says this is what the ship costs. It's just like, get on. Here's a mop. Stop mopping.
Well, it's the experience. You really have to have that experience where you don't have any kind of reference points. Some people panic without a reference point.
You should explain that a little bit. What do you mean by no reference points?
Well, humans in general need a reference point in order to know how to get from one place to another, but also where they happen to be. That's why we have maps, and that's
you almost need your North Star and your relationship of you have to say, I am in and of myself, my consciousness, my existence is enough. And then the guidance is, just spirit. It's just heart. It's just, people say their guiding star, but it's really...
Well, even more basic than that. Just think of, with the kids. Some kids just don't like to be in an area where they don't know anything. You're like, where am I? I don't like this. And some, it doesn't matter. They're so self-possessed that it doesn't matter where they're put.
We've known some of those.
Yes. And that's that kind of internal guidance where you know that you're okay. And I guess we've reached the end of our show.
It's time to burn that bridge.
All right.
Well, I'm Michael Lyons.
And I'm Margaret. And thank you for listening.